Hi, I'm Graham from Brighton Bear Weekend, and we had the privilege of welcoming Chris Gull, the chair of...
Hey,
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
hello.
Chris is a community treasure. He's the chair of the Brighton Rainbow Fund, which literally saves lives of LGBTQ plus people across the city. The grants it gives to charities and small community groups make the place where we live safer, more accepting, and a happier city. This is why Brighton Bear Weekend is a big supporter of it.
Absolutely.
You're a fantastic supporter of us. Thank you.
Thank you. How did it start? How did it all begin?
How did it all begin? Well, it's kind of a legacy project from the fundraising that was done to create the AIDS Memorial, which James Ledwood and Paul Elgood did about 11 years ago. And once they'd commissioned it and it was all built, there was some money still left over within the Sussex Community Foundation, some ring-fenced money. So we've been talking for quite a long time about the advantages and the benefits of having a central place for fundraising, for community fundraising, and that so that venues didn't have to think about which charities to support, and charities didn't have to lobby venues or individuals to try and raise funds, and that any money that was raised within the community can be distributed in an equitable, fair and transparent way. So that was the idea of it. It started almost exactly 10 years ago. I do a feature within G-Scene looking back 5 years and 10 years and so on. And in the August issue of G-Scene, one of the parts of that feature is about the Rainbow Fund as it was then starting, and what its hopes and aspirations were.
Oh, great.
So how do you raise funds, and how do you decide who it goes to?
Well, the fundraising, again, it comes back to the idea of it's a central place for people to fundraise for. So people like yourselves in the Brighton Bear Weekend, Air Patrol, Pride, of course, and then individuals, the venues have collection boxes put on events and so on. So altogether nowadays, it's over, well, in most years nowadays, it raises over £200,000 between all those things. And the way that it's distributed, we have one big fundraising, one big funding round a year, which any LGBTQ plus or HIV project in Brighton and Hove can apply to. We have a grants panel, an independent grants panel, who look at all those applications, talk to the people, the organisations who've applied, and then decide whether we can go along with what they're asking for. And so far, until this year, we've usually been able to accommodate people's applications and requests. There are one or two other little funding streams that we do for people, for organisations or projects starting up, or from start a meetup group, and also a bursary fund. But most of it, it goes through this one big funding round a year.
I've been lucky enough to be at the grant giving ceremony, and it does cover the whole spectrum of the LGBTQ plus. But how has it changed over the years? How has the priorities changed?
Well, I mean, when we started, we were looking at distributing £15,000 or £16,000 a year. So we had to put a cap on what each organisation could apply for, only allow one project from each organisation. And we don't have to do that now, or we haven't had to do it. We may have to this year, depending on how much is raised, during this year, and especially around this weekend. I mean, that's the main change, really. About the other thing is that the council, for instance, has a lot less to give away, so we're kind of filling in and taking on some of the slack of because they don't get the funding from central government to be able to give to groups and organisations.
And do any of the charities stand out as being more effective and more progressive than others?
You really expect me to answer that?
It's like picking your favourites, isn't it?
Well, I mean, obviously, because we're sitting here and talking to Radio Reverb, then we have to pick them out. But no, I mean, they all have to be effective, because we monitor how the money that we give them is spent, and what is produced, and what results they've got. That sounds very invasive, but actually we work with them to try and make sure that, bottom line, all the money that you raise, for instance, you need to know and trust that because you work hard to raise it, that it's going to be used in the best possible way and the most bang for the buck. That was James Ledwood's and my watchword is, let's get the best bang for the buck out of everything that people work so hard to raise or to donate.
Well,
sorry, Joss.
No, I'm just going to chip in there. But I'm an advocate of that, because the Rainbow Fund help with the HIV hour, so that's been an amazing contribution and help. So it's fantastic. But,
I think that goes back to the accountability the Rainbow Fund actually do for us. They take the politics out of raising the money, because they do the hard work of working out where the funds go to. And I always remember James saying to me, it's not going towards paying for the boss's new coffee machine or a new office chair simply to make the boss feel more comfortable at work. It's actually going to frontline projects that actually do help people across the city.
Absolutely, yeah.
And actually, it's worth saying at very little cost, because we don't have premises. We don't, they're all volunteers, so there are no wages, there are no premises to pay. So the money that's raised, apart from things that we have to pay for statutorily, but it's a tiny proportion of the money that's raised that goes into administration. The rest goes out to the actual project and the frontline work and services that we're talking about.
What led you to become chair in the first place?
I was. Now, if I say it was kind of pumped on me, that sounds rude. I've always been involved. I ran a charity during the 90s called Brighton Cares, which raised money as an HIV hardship fund. So I've kind of always been connected to organisations and within that sphere. And so James asked me to join, and because I'd had this idea about having a central fund to distribute the funds, when he and Paul Elgood set up the organisation under the auspices of the Sussex Community Foundation, they asked me to join the grants panel, the independent grants panel. And after a little while, as we got more money in, the 10% service charge that we gave to that we paid to the Sussex Community Foundation became quite a significant amount. So under Paul Elgood, we pulled away and formed a CIC company so that we could reduce the amount of administration costs. And then other stuff came up for Paul, and he had to leave quite quickly, and I was kind of nominally the vice chair. So just before one of those grant presentation evenings, literally the day before, I found I was chair. And in the meantime, we've become a charity. So I'm now a chair of trustees. Ooh.
Ooh. Ooh.
Outside, it's a Brighton Pride, and the people are filling up the streets and partying.
Yes.
Do you have any suggestions of how people celebrate Pride this year?
How they can celebrate Pride? Yeah. Well, I think they're probably all finding their own way to do that. The venues are open again. Hopefully, everybody is I'd say behaving, but you know what I mean. They're being responsible, especially around the village. But I think, like every year, people will be celebrating at home, having their own Pride parties or having picnics and things like that. I think there's probably more of that this year. It will be interesting to see how things work out around the village without a formal village, street party, and without the A259 being blocked off to distance. So hopefully that will all go well and safely this year. And obviously, Pride is virtual this year, so there's a telethon basically on as part of what they're presenting this year, is like they always do, raising money for the Rainbow Fund. They're hoping to reach the £1 million that they've raised for good causes this year, doing it on the virtual Pride. So I hope it's a bit of everything. I think people getting out, tuning into your programs, tuning into the Pride virtual programs, and enjoying it that way as well.
That's
and
great.
it is a tough time for charities. So how can people support the Rainbow Fund?
Oh, by donating.
How can they do that?
Oh, okay. So, with Radio Reverb, as far as I know, you've got a donate by text code,
Yes.
number, which you'll be giving out, and so you can use that. That's very easy to use. I haven't got it in my head what it is at the moment, so I'm sure that Josh or you will be able to.
I'll do that, definitely.
There is the Rainbow Fund, the Brighton Rainbow Fund webpage also has a donate button on it, which people can use. That's the easiest way. If you're in a venue, then they'll have collection boxes and you can put money into that. But honestly, this year we could really do with the crinkle. If people are going to give cash, then we could do with a crinkle of notes rather than the tinkle of coins. Just so that we can carry on with the good work, and more importantly, so that the 23 projects that we currently fund can carry on with their good work.
I've got that text thing. It's text Reverb, then a space, and the number of whole pounds you wish to donate to 70085. No pound sign, no dot or pence, just the number, and you'll be charged your donation plus the cost of a standard text message.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm ready, Reverb.
Yeah,
I love the official bit.
I know. I was about to
You can also buy our Brighton Bear Weekend t-shirts in Prowler.
Hey.
And also, as Chris was saying, there's plenty of buckets around, hopefully, in the streets of this Pride. Do put some cash in there.
Yeah, donate.
Donate. Notes would be very good for this year.
Yes, please.
One last thing, we've been asking all our guests this hour to request a song that reminds them of Pride.
Yeah. Well, I chose Diana Ross, I'm Coming Out, mainly because so many people, when they're talking, again, if you look at Juicing, there's lots of reminiscences in this month's Pride issue of people's experiences and remembrances of Pride, and it comes up again and again is that Pride often gives people the confidence to be able to come out and to know that they are part of a bigger community that's got their back. It's not a perfect community. We're not all peace and love for one another and what have you. But in the end, when it comes around to Pride, then that's what we would hope to achieve and to attain, and to support those who finally are able to live the lives that they deserve and want to. And that may involve coming out. And it's a great song as well. I love it.
Oh, it's a classic, isn't it? Disco classic. Shall we have a listen to it?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Thanks very much, Chris. Really
Thanks, Chris.
All right,
have a good weekend today.
Thank you.
Happy Pride to you.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.